Here's a peek at what guests had to say after the show.
Okay, Ralph, first one's to you. Do you support liberals rallying around a libertarian like Rand Paul, or more of a centrist like Hillary Clinton?
You mean Generalissima Hillary Clinton? No.
Ooh.
I support Rand Paul on foreign military policy and the
Right.
Federal Reserve and the bloated military budget.
Right.
All of which she's on the other side. Who's liberal and who's conservative anymore?
If only we could combine, like, the half of Rand Paul we like with, like, Elizabeth Warren. Wouldn't that be an awesome candidate?
Like a centaur.
Like a centaur. What platforms do Democrats need to run on to have any degree of success in the 2014 midterms? Let's ask the opposition. What do you think?
Well, I think right now they're running on impeachment, and I think it's cynical but very smart of them to do. The White House has been talking about impeachment nonstop. The Democratic campaign committee's raised $2 million.
They didn't exactly make it up out of thin air. There are many Republicans who have brought up that word and that concept.
But the Speaker Boehner, has been very clear, privately and publicly, that this is not happening. And he's really the only one that matters on this.
Okay. And I agree. It is a political move for them to. In fact,
It would be very stupid of us to do it. And we're not going to.
We did a rant at the end of the show in May saying, please do it, because it's the one thing that could save the Democrats.
You know, we tried that with Bill Clinton. It didn't work very well.
No, it did. Right, yeah. How do you think a hypothetical president's atheism would affect foreign policy in the U.S.?
President Maher?
Yeah, like that'll ever happen. Well, I mean, atheists tend to be ethicists. We don't believe that goodness is going, should be anything but for the sake of itself. We don't think that our ass is going to get saved because we have faith. We have to actually make our ethics in this world. So I would think it would be, good. How worried should we be about Americans going abroad and returning as suicide bombers? Well, we've seen there was a guy who blew himself up in Syria this week, an American. And he, by the way, he was railing against Americans working too hard. He said Americans work 40, 50, 60 hours a week. I'm like, hey, dude, that's my bit at the end of the show. Don't. Yeah.
He also said he didn't have any friends. Oh. Poor guy.
That is the root of a lot of problems. Remember the guy in Santa Barbara who killed all those people? He
needs some friends, some girlfriends.
That age, that is such a dangerous age, like 18 to 22. You know, you're not a kid anymore. You're finding your way in the world. It's like the beginning of your second life. You have nothing going for you. I'm going for my own life, you know. And you're just very vulnerable to anything. I think that's why they join these groups.
We need like an AmeriCorps of girlfriends. You know what I mean? People, like, you volunteer for 2 years to just be girlfriends to losers.
I'll give some bipartisan support for that. I could use that, actually.
No, but it really is true. We need, it gets better, not just for homosexuals.
Right. I like the AmeriCorps.
Isn't that right, Chris?
I'm sorry, what was it?
Isn't that right?
What, the AmeriCorps of girlfriends?
No, that it gets better?
Oh, it does. Well, it's better. But
yeah.
That's why the AmeriCorps of girlfriends is like freshman and sophomore year for the girls and the junior and senior year for the guys.
Listen, this is why we have masturbation, right, Ralph Nader? I feel weird saying that next to you. I don't feel comfortable that I just said that out loud. I just made a jerk-off joke next to Ralph Nader. I'm going to sit quietly. Not going to make eye contact. I'm going to stare at my
Ralph
mic.
has seen it all. Are you kidding? In fact, I was reading that when you were investigating Corvair, they tapped your phones and tried to trap you with prostitutes.
Yeah.
Wow. How far did the prostitutes get?
Not as far as they would have gotten with you.
Damn!
Whoa! Yeah, very nice.
He volleyed that one back.
How did they do that? Did they like dig a hole and put a carpet in front of your door and then you fall in and like prostitutes, mad rabid prostitutes, clawing and attacking?
No, they actually met me at the cookie counter in a store.
Oh wow!
So
really?
We're having a discussion. You want to come? It's going to be on foreign affairs. I think they were talking about domestic affairs.
And you knew that they were prostitutes?
Oh yeah. I mean, at that time, we knew. You know.
Wow.
there's a lot of stuff going on.
And so
but
what
it
did
helped pass the auto and highway safety bill.
But what did you do at that?
The prostitutes did?
A minor concession.
I also feel a little uncomfortable with like 6 guys talking about what girls should do. We're like Congress.
I wasn't, you know what I mean?
So true.
I was just listening.
Okay.
Talking about masturbation.
Ralph, this one says, will you run in 2016?
No.
No.
Jerry Brown is going to look for it. If Hillary falters, watch for Jerry Brown.
Oh, so
it'll be his 4th try. He's very popular in California.
You're leaving it to a younger man.
Yeah, of course.
Chris, what members of Congress would you want on at midnight? Oh, please. Right? None.
None of them? I don't know.
You have comedians.
Yeah, we
You
have comedians
funny
on.
people.
Yeah. We have comedians on.
Yeah.
That would be a really boring. Like, first of
Yeah.
all, they would all have to get together for about 4 weeks to decide on how to answer each question.
Yeah, it would just be wrong.
Yeah.
So, Ralph, these prostitutes, when they... Tell me about the whores, Lenny. Is this do-nothing Congress representative of what's in store for the future every time a Democrat wins the presidency? Or maybe just anybody wins the presidency. I mean...
Look, I think certainly Obama's first 2 years, he was very productive. I didn't like what he was producing, but they were very productive. Nancy Pelosi got a lot of bills into law.
Sure.
Obviously, that's not happening as much now. But I'll tell you, for the past 2 years, I spent every day trying to pass legislation. A lot of it was bipartisan. We have about 45 Democrat bills that passed the House, one of which was actually just passed last week, was a Barbara Lee bill that the Senate won't consider. And that's a real problem. If the House can pass bills that are bipartisan bills, some of them ought to be good ideas. Maybe not all of them are, but some of them are. And we just can't get things through. And the Senate has become a legislative graveyard, unfortunately.
So this is...
They don't even consider Democrat amendments in the Senate.
And this is like the first day of the rest of your life today, right? Because
apparently so, yes. So there'll be a collection plate, I believe. I hope.
Who, if you had your druthers, who would you work for next?
I don't know. I was so fortunate to work with Eric Cantor. I think was such a good guy who I think a lot of people wouldn't realize the amount of time he spent in inner cities visiting schools, a lot of time at medical research facilities and hospitals, and things like that are really important.
Do you think
Watch it.
No, I believe that.
But I'm a big fan of Marco Rubio. I'm a big fan of Bobby Jindal, and I also like that having worked for the highest-ranking Jewish Republican and the only African-American Republican National Committee chair, I like the fact that we have a lot more diverse voices than we did, say, 10 years ago.
Yeah, you have one of each.
Right. And everywhere.
Okay. Thank you very much. We'll see you in September.
Real Time with Bill Maher. Ask Bill and his guests your questions right after the show at HBO.com or on Twitter.